Ahead on Keep It in the Ring tonight, I'm Rich Mancuso. Welcome live on my YouTube channel and String Punk Entertainment. Ahead, we will mourn the passing of a legend in pro wrestling, Hulk Hogan. A lot to do with that. We'll talk about it and analyze a great career, a legendary career it was. Also, the boxing part of the program this week, of course, Pac-Man, Manny Pacquiao was back with a win. Where does he go from here? Bam Bam unified as a title. So does Alexander Usyk, once again the undisputed heavyweight champ. We'll analyze and go over that. What's next? We'll preview Xander Zayas and his first shot at a title, a championship this Saturday night, Madison Square Garden, plus much more. More WWE news, AEW. This is Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. Stay with us. We're back with you right now.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
And good evening, everyone, for this Thursday night edition of Keep It in the Ring, Thursday, July 24th, 2025. My YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. Like, comment, and subscribe. Also to String Punk Entertainment. Tommy D, my co-host, will be here in a moment. And we have a lot to do. And we're going to get to it right away. The boxing calendar scrolled at the bottom of your screen. Reach me on social media, X, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. Read my content, Latinosports.com. And also I'm on Instagram and every other outlet I get a chance to write for. I'm here. You're here. Let's get to it first with the sad news. And we got word earlier today about the passing of a legend, Hulk Terry Bollea Hogan, 71 years of age, reportedly had been in bad health. I wrote a perspective of Hogan, his career, and some of my experience with him. Right now, it's posted on Latinosports.com. Please read it, get a chance if you can. Take a look at that legend, as he is. He is a legend. He always will be. Perhaps maybe the greatest of all time. Many say he was. But this man was responsible for pro wrestling and the revival in the 1980s. Vince McMahon brought him in. Vince McMahon thought of an idea with him. The creativity started, and we had Hulkamania. And Hulkamania lasted a long time. And because of Hulk Hogan and Hulkamania, pro wrestling, which had been on a downswing, revived. A lot of what you're seeing today is because of that man, Hulk Hogan. We're able to see wrestling now more on TV, even with the streaming networks, the Netflix deal with WWE, among the many others in this multi-billion-dollar industry. True, this man was a legend, and true, an icon, and will always be remembered. But towards the end of his career, controversial, especially with his political comments, and that was sadly known, especially at a recent WWE PLE event where he was booed out of the arena with Jimmy Hart, who was his longtime manager, according to the storyline. Regardless, Hogan did things that nobody ever did before. Patented leg drop, we know that was his finished move. He wasn't the greatest technical wrestler, yet he performed and entertained. And when you talk in pro wrestling, that's what it's all about, and that makes the money. And Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan made a lot of money together. Of course, there was that famous WrestleMania number 3, Pontiac, Michigan, where Hogan leg dropped and pinned the great Andre the Giant, who was the good guy become heel, an angle they thought about doing together. That patented bear hug and then that patented leg drop. Andre went down. Andre, of course, not feeling well at the time as well, but Hogan did it. And that still created a big buzz in the industry. To this day, it lives on, still talked about. Hogan, Andre the Giant, over 93,000 fans in Pontiac, Michigan, a WrestleMania indoor record. And then Hogan went on, had his spits and spats like all wrestlers do in the industry, and went jump ship to then WCW and formed what you call the NWO. The NWO, where he was the heel. However, still selling merchandise and getting booed at the same time, still ever so popular. Vince McMahon today with a tweet or an Instagram and on Twitter, he and many others in the wrestling community all mourning the passing of this legend. To McMahon, Hogan was the greatest of all time. Indeed, he was. This was Hulkamania. This was Hulk Hogan. No one did it better than him. I had very few experiences with Hulk Hogan. We didn't work together. We passed each other by once in a while, and his famous words to me and many others was always, "How you doing, brother?" He did have an ego. And in the wrestling business, when you're making a lot of money and you are doing so well and you're the top of the notch in the business, egos developed, and Hogan had an ego, though to many he didn't. And today on Facebook, with a post that I put out, somebody really attacked me for saying that. But my friends, I was behind the scenes. I could see some of this stuff, and it was shown when Hogan was on camera. He took control. He took control wisely, and he did it real well, which developed into big business. Hogan was an icon, which you call greatness. So for the next 20 minutes or so or more, we're going to remember this icon, this legend in the pro wrestling industry, Terry Bollea Hulk Hogan. And I'm going to bring in my co-host first, Tommy D. Bring him on from TD Sports Talk. He's going to be a part of the panel. We want you to comment as we go along. We may not get to all of you. We'll try and do the best we can. Also, let me bring in my good friend. Here he is, Robbie Rebel, who grew up watching Hulk Hogan, who's a current pro wrestling star himself on the independent circuit. And do we have Craig Menaverde there, Meranivi there?
No, not yet.
Georgia, we're going to bring on someone who knew Hogan real well and worked with him in the heyday in the 80s, who I worked with it as well, known as Craig DeGeorge, an original WWF then broadcaster turned WWE. Craig is also the radio voice now of the Miami Marlins in MLB. All right, guys, let's start. Then we'll bring Craig in the conversation. Everyone knows how I feel about it. The wrestling world is kind of stunned about it. There were rumors that he was gravely ill, but today it all came out, and we had to verify everything before it became official. First of all, let me bring Tommy. You grew up watching Hogan. We all did. What are your thoughts about this legend, Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea?
I think, Hulk Hogan is the reason why I think most of us, especially at my age, started watching wrestling. Vince McMahon with the innovator of WrestleMania, right? It all started with WrestleMania, and he took a gamble on Hogan.
WrestleMania number one, Madison Square Garden with Mr. T. McMahon and Hogan put that together, forever remembered. That was the beginning.
Yep. And then one thing that goes with Hulk Hogan is obviously his intro, the Real American song. I mean,
right.
Everybody who, if you were a kid and you watched wrestling, everybody knew the lyrics to "I Am a Real American." And
I am a real American, and you can still hear it. But people, the fans, popped for that. Don't you agree, Robbie? Robbie Rebel, regular on Keep It in the Ring here every week. Robbie, you grew up watching Hogan. Is that one of the reasons why you got involved to be a pro wrestler, watching Hulk Hogan growing up as a young kid in Long Island?
Believe it or not, Hogan was not the original thing that attracted me. I didn't grow up watching Hogan too much. I saw him more on the WCW stuff because that was when I was growing up. So the coming of the NWO, him turning heel and everything like that. What really got me originally was the Undertaker and Savage. The explosive energy from one and then just the presence of another is one that got me. But as I grew into wrestling, I've learned to respect what Hogan did for the whole business. And because it was so big when I first put eyes on it, that all goes back to WrestleMania 3, Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania. All that stuff is very, very important. And like to double back on what you said, if it wasn't for him being a trailblazer, we wouldn't really have a lot of people like the John Cenas, the Rocks, the Stone Colds. It's very important what he did, whether you liked him or not.
And that's just it. He developed this persona that immediately caught on with the fans. Guys, I was there WrestleMania number 3. I worked that event, and I still, to this day, hear that crowd of 93,000 buzzing Hogan, Andre the Giant. Even at WrestleMania number 1 in the Garden, he had this persona that captivated the audience so quick, better than any pro wrestler in wrestling history. And we're talking greats about that. He just had that persona, and everyone latched on to it. And until the end, when his career was dying, he still tried to latch on to this new generation of fans that didn't grow up with him. But then a lot of them did catch on as well.
Mm-hmm. Especially in his second run with WWE. Like Hogan versus Rock was a really huge WrestleMania thing. And it was fascinating for me watching, being, in my teens, early 20s at that point. It was crazy to see someone just going at it. And also Shawn and Hogan. Shawn and Hogan was the first time you got to really peek behind the curtain because of how Shawn Michaels is.
Oh, Shawn Michaels overselling every single thing, which was to me was hilarious. The Rock one was much better because
it was fantastic.
The fans turned and they kind of started cheering Hogan towards the end because he came in as the heel and started cheering him. So
how often can you say in the middle of a match, someone does a babyface turn in the middle of a match?
Yeah, and
that's insanely difficult to pull off.
Our guest is here, Rick. I'm gonna add him.
All right, let's bring on the panel a longtime friend and colleague. He was known as Craig DeGeorge at the time. And he worked a lot of the Hulk Hogan matches as a WWF, then WWE commentator. Here he is, Craig DeGeorge, but real name is Craig
Minervini, longtime friend.
Longtime friend from Long Island. That's Tommy D, my co-host. And that's Robbie Rebel Craig, who's from your neck of the woods in Long Island, a current pro wrestling star. As we join the conversation now, Craig is also radio voice of the Miami Marlins. I think you're in Milwaukee right now, right? Getting ready for a series tomorrow night.
I'm actually not on the trip there, but I do radio and TV for the Marlins, as you know, for a long time.
Right.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Thanks
for Craig. This is great having you on because you knew Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, as good as anyone else. You worked with him side by side on and off camera. Briefly, what are your reflections about the passing of this legend?
Obviously, incredibly sad, especially after hearing the news that it looked like he was going to be okay. And it seems like I saw Ric Flair was kind of stunned hearing that he was okay, 48 hours ago or whatever. Stunning. He's one of the most electric entertainers in the world. That in our lifetime. I mean, he's in the category of the Muhammad Ali's, that kind of ilk we're talking with Hogan. And you kind of maybe forget that now because it's been a few years since his heyday. But I got to interview him. I've covered, like a lot of you guys, I've covered virtually every sport, every main event, Super Bowl, Stanley Cup, World Series. And I will tell you, I used to do these interviews. Maybe some of your viewers will recall these out on a platform during these wrestling superstar shows, a wrestling challenge. And I'd be in a platform in the middle of the arena, whether it was the auditorium in Buffalo or the LA Forum, wherever it was where we did the TV taping. I would be on this blue platform that was maybe, 10 feet by 20 feet. And I would bring up in the middle of the show a guest that we would go over in one of the three shows we were taping that night. And I'll tell you, when it was Hogan and they played Real American, I still get chills. And he'd come out and that crowd would go nuts. And I had the mic, and it was the coolest thing ever. And it matches, and I'm a big sports guy. It matches the Super Bowl, matches the Stanley Cup, the World Series. The enthusiasm in the building, you would not know what kind of major event you were at, and this was for an interview. It was spectacular.
Craig, you did work on camera with him a lot, and I think we have a photo, an image of you and Hulk Hogan together. Was that at the beginning of you working for WWF at the time with the Hulkster?
Yeah, that shot is probably what I'm talking about. One of those, in-arena live interviews where, it was set up maybe in segment 3 after the first 2 matches. We'll go to DeGeorge, and Vince McMahon would throw it to me. Let's get out of Craig DeGeorge. What? Who? and then I would do some kind of intro. And honestly, I didn't have to be Mike Wallace here or some great interviewer because it was usually a little bit of a setup. And let me tell you something, brother. Occasionally a cool
One
Craig.
one question, and he went
Yeah.
off. That was it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, you didn't have to be, you didn't have to be the next great interviewer to get a good back and forth go. I didn't have to be Charlie Rose. Let's put it that way. But it spoiled me too, because most guys you interview in sports or in wrestling, not in wrestling because they're all pretty good, but in sports, you got to really work sometimes to get an answer. And to start off your career kind of with a guy like this was unbelievable. But if I don't know how much time we have, but if I could tell you a couple of stories.
Go ahead. That's why I got you on. Go ahead.
All right. We used to do these interviews that were. Do you guys remember the old shows when the interviews were customized?
Yeah,
That
I do.
City. So,
Yep.
I guess Robbie, it's not like this.
Sure, because you're bringing up a point. Not to cut you off, Craig, because
go.
Hogan made this into more than the regional now. It went national when he came in.
Yeah,
so they
right.
just branched out so much. Go ahead, Craig.
So wherever the match was, let's say 6 to 8 weeks out. Let's say it was coming in Springfield, Missouri, or Paducah, Kentucky, wherever it was. On those particular shows, when it aired on Saturday, in that Superstars of Wrestling, they would get 3 customized interviews just for Springfield, Missouri. We're coming to the Springfield Civic Center on Tuesday night, a month or two in advance. And then I would usually fly to a place where it was a dark show, it was not on television, and they would set up the backdrop in the Holiday Inn somewhere in a ballroom, and I would usually do about 20 interviews with each superstar. Maybe it was Macho Man Savage, Bret the Hitman Hart, and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the managers, and Hogan and each would come in for about 20 consecutive interviews, and they were 2 minutes and 24 seconds each. And what they would do is they basically had a sheet of paper with the card listed on it, and it would be taped to the bottom of the camera, and I would read about 3 or 4. Here would you see? And now let's bring on Hulk Hogan. And now Hogan, when we did these 20, he would always start with a small market. We would do Erie, Pennsylvania, Pensacola, Florida, the tiniest towns in the world, where he was going. And then after about 10, he was warmed up. Okay, let's bring on New York, brother. All right, coming to Madison Square Garden. And that's how it went with him. He warmed up with the little markets, and he killed it. You wouldn't know it was a little market, but that's how he liked to warm up.
Wow,
that's amazing,
isn't it? What a trend! How it's changed. How it's really changed. All right, guys, go ahead and let's reflect. Tom and Robbie. Anyone knew him better was there. Craig DeGeorge, and one of the voices then of WWE.
I got a quick question for you.
Yes.
What part of Long Island were you from?
I grew up in Huntington, Long Island.
Oh, okay. I live in Wanto right now.
Okay. And I went to Comac South High School. I actually went to school, although she's older than me, with Rosie O'Donnell.
I went to Connecticut.
Okay. Oh yeah, we were competing schools.
Yeah.
I knew the two of you. I knew the two of you would get along right away from backyard. Yeah. Go ahead. Continue the discussion with Craig, because I've already talked to him about it, and we know each other a long time, and I want you to get to know more perspective from Craig's side.
So, Craig, were you working for WWF during WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania? Were you around?
No, I joined them. I'll just give you a quick story. I had interned at Madison Square Garden Network when I was in college. I went to Syracuse. And what happened when I started my career, I got a job doing TV sports in West Virginia.
Okay.
And I was the main anchor doing the sports. And then about less than a year into the job, the gentleman who I worked with at at MSG, went over to work for Vince, a gentleman by the name of Phil Harmon, a TV executive. And so he called me up, and I kept in touch with him. And I always tell people the stories about, internships, you're not paid, and all the work you put in, and you go in for free. And I took the train from Long Island, the mess that could be, for an hour. And then fortunately it was right at Penn Station, the Garden. But it was all that for a whole summer. I went in every day, 9 to 5 pretty much, and all I got was the train fare. But I got a lot more. I made a lot of contacts there. And, you never know what impression you make on somebody. So a year into my job, or a little less than that, this Phil Harmon calls me. Hey, I'm working for Vince McMahon now at Titan Sports. Would you be interested? And I'm like, now let me see. I'm in the 143rd market, talking about Beckley High School as my lead story tonight, that big baseball game. Or I could go to the national television. Yes, I'm interested. So I went in for an interview and I got the job. And I later worked for Vince at the XFL too. So I got there, to answer your question in a long-winded way. I got there I was there just before WrestleMania 3. I got there
the big one.
A month before maybe 2 months before WrestleMania 3.
So when you work with them, so I'm thinking back then, when you was talking about those wrestling shows that were coming a week, I'm thinking like Wrestling Challenge, or what is it? Was it Spotlight? It was a Wrestling Spotlight or Challenge was one of them.
Yes.
So that's what you was doing? Okay.
Yes.
And
one of the shows was called Superstars of Wrestling. That was sort of the main show.
It was on Saturday mornings. Yeah.
The other show was called Wrestling Challenge.
And
we had a Wrestling Spotlight, which I would host sometimes with Lord Alfred Hayes. It was sort of a highlight type show. But the other two shows, the way they did it was they would go to a certain city, let's say Paducah, Kentucky, and then 2 hours away it might be Louisville or somewhere else, St. Louis, as I recall. So we'd go to Paducah one night and shoot Superstars, 3 shows. Hogan never on the show. I might do the interview with him, but he would not wrestle on that show. He would wrestle on the dark match after the television taping was over. And these shows, because they did it in 3 different languages, French, Spanish, and English, with all the stand-ups. So the Manuel, I think Miguel Alonso was the Spanish voice. I think Rene Goulet did some color. I forgot the name of the Frenchie Martin, I think was one of the French voices. Rich, you remember Frenchie Martin?
Frenchie Martin.
Yeah.
I think
there was another guy, a Canadian guy. Anyway,
he was a manager.
Each guy would have to go up, do their stand-up. In English, Spanish. You can imagine how long the show took. It was unbelievable. You know why that crowd stuck around? Because at about 11:30, Hulk Hogan's going to come on into that ring. Not televised. The cameras were all shut off by that point. That was the reason they hung around for the 3 shows, is because Hogan was headlining the show, but you never saw him wrestle on those Saturday morning shows.
Craig,
exactly.
It was because we've seen this transformation of what's gone on since then, what you're talking about years back. Craig, how describe him as a person? Many people saw him as controversial, of course, at the end of his career, towards the end of his life, with political views and stuff. But before that, he was never involved with that. Businessman for sure, made a lot of money. Your interactions with him, what type of a person was Terry Bollea?
Well, I was a young kid, right? I was Mean Gene's basically understudy, but I got a hell of a lot of airtime. It was a great gig, and Mean Gene was the greatest guy. I worked closely with Mean Gene. I didn't know Terry in terms of hanging out at the bars with him, although he did steal a girl from me one night. That's another story. But
typical wrestler.
I'll tell you that one after. But I didn't, and I'm a young guy. He's looking at me, and I had a nice television rapport with him, but I didn't socialize much with him. We'd be out in the same place occasionally, so I didn't know him that well. All I knew him is he was the superstar, and he was very respectful, always really nice to me. As a young guy coming in, he could have looked at me as, Mean Gene's the man. Who's this guy? I got to do 20 interviews. He never was like that. He always treated me with a tremendous amount of respect. And so I love, look, when you're doing Hogan interviews, you're interviewing Gretzky, you're interviewing Michael Jordan, you're interviewing Muhammad Ali, Tyson, the biggest and the best. So if you're doing that interview, that's as good as it gets.
He was a creative genius, especially with Vince McMahon, because they came up with this whole idea, made millions of dollars together. And then, of course, they had a little falling out and were able to reunite. And he became a part of WWE family forever after that. His creativity was unbelievable. And I don't think people gave him enough credit for that.
Yeah, he was he was a great performer, probably better. You can argue better in front of the camera than he was in the ring. His charisma was just amazing. He really set the bar for being a guy who, would you guys agree? As good as he was, and he's not regarded as a great technical wrestler.
No, he wasn't.
No, definitely not. No,
it was the patented leg drop. That was it.
Leg drop and this and come on.
That's it.
He was one of the most charismatic. Yeah, he had the charisma.
He was an actor. Exactly. He had that persona.
Yeah,
That's when you buy it. That's what the fans wanted, and they got it. But
that's the selling point.
Yeah, but it's
Thank you,
charisma.
Robbie.
It's not even the acting, because sometimes the acting could be a little bit
Right.
stale. But he just had the charisma. He got people to cheer him and love him and go crazy for him.
And they bought his merchandise. Even I bought it. Even I was working in the business time.
Well,
I bought the merchandise.
Rich, if you laid a couple of bucks out for anything, that is really saying something.
Oh, come on. I'm not that.
Wow. Wow.
Now, would you say, let me ask you this, because I got to work with this guy too. Rich, you would probably be the best to answer this. Would you say he took some of what superstar Billy Graham had created? Because you look at Billy Graham.
That's a very good point.
That's all his promos were.
Huh? Yeah.
That's all his promos. He just took what Graham had and put it up to 11.
Yeah.
And took the Rocky Balboa into it as well.
A little bit of that.
And that created okay. Yeah, but superstar Billy Graham for sure. Good point. Sure. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
But deep down, Craig and guys, to me, of course, working in that era in the 80s and going to the 90s, to me, he was one of the top 5. I wouldn't put him as a top 1 wrestler, but performer maybe in the way he sold, number 1. Because you know why I say that, guys? Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, rejuvenated a dying wrestling industry. He had Vince McMahon to help him out. There's no doubt about it. But if you don't have no Hulk Hogan, no Vince McMahon, no Hulk Hogan, we're not talking pro wrestling the way you are today, are we?
No,
definitely not.
I agree with you 100%. I think he's number 1 all time, and that's saying a lot with The Rock and some of the others that have followed. Cena's huge now. But Hulk Hogan made wrestling. Hey, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Right.
You know how big that was when that happened? Wrestling.
That's huge.
On the cover of Sports. I remember the picture. And wrestling's hit the big time. And Cyndi Lauper and the MTV and Lou Albano. It all came together, and wrestling became, it was okay to watch wrestling. It wasn't like the 70s when I grew up watching it,
No.
I enjoyed the entertainment.
With the you had to watch it on a UHF antenna. Canal 47, Linden Newark, Channel 47. That's how we watched it. Yeah. And then it just expanded with WrestleMania and Hogan and all that stuff. Craig, any final thoughts? And then I'm going to have you and Robbie exchange pleasantries as well.
Yeah, well, do you want to hear my story how he stole the girl from me one night?
Well, that would be interesting.
Is that okay tonight, or should we wait a minute? I don't.
Anything goes on Keep It in the Ring. Everyone knows that.
Should he pull a disclaimer like I do?
I'll keep it clean. It's not. But anyway, we were in Huntsville, Alabama, and I was talking to this girl, and I'm a young single man, all night long at the bar for 4 hours, and it just wasn't going anywhere. So I finally I walked her outside to her car. And when she got to the car, she said, "Hey, by the way, I'm a masseuse." So then, of course, I did my back. Yeah. So she goes, "Okay, I'll give you one quick massage." I'm like, "Okay." So we go back in. We're staying at a Holiday Inn. It was 4 stories. We go in. We get into the elevator. And I think Hogan maybe had stopped by in the middle during the night just to say hello, a quick hello, not to say hi to me probably. She was an attractive girl. So anyway, and we go back in the elevator. It's obviously pretty late. And as the doors were shutting, like this, a big brown arm comes in and it blocks the door from closing.
1 second, brother.
It was the tan arm of Hulk Hogan. I think it was with B. Brian Blair or somebody, who I love. It was to this day, good friends. But and so we get in, and now he's looking at me doing one of these. And I'm like, "All right, what do you got, Hulk?" And I swear you'd think this was on television. He looks at me and he goes, and by the way, I hit the 3rd floor and he hits the 4th floor. And he goes, "Brother," and he's not kind of looking at me now. He says, "There's something I really don't understand about you." I said, "What's that, Hulk?" I knew something was coming. He goes, "Why did everybody at the WWF take the AIDS test except you?"
Oh, wow. That's what's up.
Wow. That's some story.
Looks at me. Now, this topic was forefront back in that time. I mean, everybody talked about it, and it was the scariest thing in the world. And now he's indicating this joke, but not a joke, because he's just trying to mess with me. And the girl looks at me horrified. Now, mind you, 4 hours, and I, walked out. And I like, he's just kidding, you know. And the door opens, and I walk out, and just guess what happens?
She stays in.
She stayed in.
What a story.
And I mumbled, I remember this I'll never forget. I mumbled 326, my room number. I'm like, I don't believe this.
Oh my God.
Wow. So the next day I see him in the locker room, and he's like, brother, he goes, she said, next time you come to Huntsville, she'll see you. I said, bleep you, Hogan. You know how hard it is for me.
Wow. How about, and then I'm going to let you go.
Yes.
How about his alliance with Jimmy Hart, because they were a team for years, the manager,
right.
and good friends as well.
Yes.
Brutus the Barber BK, who they said was his brother, which was a fallacy.
Right.
And his alliance as the Mega Powers with Randy Macho Man Savage, where there was a lot of dissension with the two. That's a true story, because Randy accused Hogan of taking Elizabeth and hiding in his apartment to get away from him. There's a lot of a lot of controversy about that. But where did it stand with all that overall? As far as his legacy and all that, that's all forgotten about. We got to remember what he did for this industry.
Things happen along the way. I loved Randy Savage. Elizabeth was a sweetheart. She taught me how to put makeup on. I remember at Boston Garden one time. She was the nicest person ever, but he was very controlling, Randy. I remember one time at an airport, she was across the way. He ran across. Hey! You know, he always had her away from the boys, if you will, but away from the wrestlers. It was very, very unique at the time. He really was protective of Elizabeth. But for Hogan, look, there's nobody ever going to be like him again. Everybody followed in his footsteps, even The Rock, as big as The Rock is, to understand how big Hogan was. To me, he was as big as it gets in sports, as big as any other name. And to do that as a wrestler, that's the thing. He's a wrestler. This
sports entertainment.
That was put on the, nobody said it was entertainment per se at the time. Everybody,
right.
But so it wasn't over respected by the average fan, and he made it mainstream. And yes, he did it with Vince's marketing and what they did with the WWF, but he taught you how to do it. He rarely stumbled too, by the way. He did these interviews. It was amazing. You know, Vince was as good as anybody. Vince was a puppeteer. He did every character better than the character could do himself, I would say, maybe except for Hogan and Macho Man. And Hogan would just take an idea and go on, and he was the best on the camera.
Yeah,
great in the ring, his charisma,
and others tried to follow. Yeah, he was a.
I have a picture up here, and I interviewed him we went on the Long Island Sound, did an interview on a boat for one of those Coliseum videos. And we're sitting on, it wasn't a big boat. It was one of those kind of racing boats, maybe 25 feet. And so I was sitting, if you will, next to him. Now he's 6'6", 6'7". I'm 5'11". And he goes, brother, now we're sitting like this, but he's taller than me, right? He goes, would you mind he wanted me to sit. I was leaning on the top of the chair. He wanted me to sit on the bottom of the chair.
Wow.
So I was like, I'm looking up, and now he's like 6 feet tall, and I'm sitting way down. He would never do an interview like this. But he wanted to make it look like he was 20 feet tall next to me instead of just 9 more inches or whatever.
He was a showman, a character.
It was just me, him, and
he really did. He really did. Correct.
I'll send it to you, Richard.
Yeah, you got to send it. We got to do it in the book that we're eventually going to do together.
Yes,
me and Craig.
Good story.
We'll talk about it when you come in town and with the Mets. When the Marlins visit the Mets in a few weeks,
I'm doing
we gotta get that going, and we'll have dinner. Maybe I'll have Robbie Rebel and Tommy D join us as well. Now, Robbie, you and Craig, not to get off the Hogan subject, both from the same backyard there in Long Island. Craig, Robbie is. He's upcoming in this business, and he's getting busy. He works every week, which is something that very rare in this business for a young guy like him. Tom, I want Craig to see some of Tommy D stuff. Look, Robbie, this is nothing bad to look at. It's promoting you right now.
Here we go.
No, when that show. Oh, no. That's not me. That's not me. I didn't put that up.
You've been doing this to me every week, every time I come on.
No.
We're having to fight in front of him, and then now I got to start calling you brother, and then telling you to get out of my ring.
No. This is Tommy's fault, not mine. Don't blame
I
me.
deleted the other 2 pictures. You got to send me the other pictures.
I sent you.
I only
the
have
other
you doing the
photos.
flip.
I sent you the other photos, not the one of me doing a front flip over someone because I'm that athletic.
Yeah,
Craig, do you want to?
That's your great athleticism right there.
Craig, go back in time and do an interview with Robbie
and then
Rebel.
That's you after a hard day's work, right?
Yeah. Good, Craig. Do an interview with Robbie Rebel before we wrap this up.
All right, where would be a place? Can we put him in the Long Island Arena? That's no longer around. But where would you be working? Where could we? Nassau Coliseum?
Mulcahy's, because I will be working there shortly.
Where?
Mulcahy's.
Mulcahy's. All right.
Yeah, there we go.
The date? What's the date there? July
26th for the Mulcahy
All right,
show.
coming to Mulcahy's on July 26th. We've got an incredible card. I don't know if Rick Mancuso will be covering it, but we'll see if he is. Bring on Robbie. Come on in here. Tell me about your matchup. You didn't tell me who you're going against. I don't know why I don't have that list here. We usually have that. Who are you going against, and what about this matchup coming up on the 26th?
Well, on the 26th, unfortunately, NYWC just likes to put me in wherever they feel like it. You know, they want to put me out there. They always want people to see me because they know I'm bringing people right down to the seats. But unfortunately, they just can never find someone in particular to verse Robbie Rebel. And now, when it does come down to July 26th in Babylon, because the one that Tommy put up right there, it's supposed to be in August. When it comes to Babylon this Saturday, Robbie Rebel's just going to go down there. We're going to take the ring, strap it on my back, put it down there, put all those fans in each and every one of those seats, give them a nice little hello, and then, you know, unfortunately, they have to figure out what's going to happen. It's always a mystery, Robbie Rebel. Unfortunately, mystery. But there's nothing I can do about that.
You're coming along. It's in Babylon, Long Island, correct?
Correct.
Now these are very, very good wrestling fans. These are not people that haven't seen it. It's not the middle of the country. This is a New York fan. Do you have to work extra hard to please this particular fan base, which, you know, they get upset if the hot dog is a little too cold?
Well, unfortunately, most people on that card are working for that cold hot dog and handshake, but Robbie Rebel's not doing that. Like I said, I'm the one putting the people in the seats. You want 30 tickets, 40 tickets. All I got to do is put something out on social media, and then they're like, oh my God, he's working. We got to go and see them. I got people all the way out from Riverhead, all the way out to Queens, and even more. I even have some people coming down from Trenton. I have some people coming down just from New Jersey. You want to see Robbie Rebel work, you got to keep following the social media. That's
all right. It's coming up on the 26th. Don't miss it. Back to more live action.
Well, that's the way Craig DeGeorge did it years back. Craig, he's got a lot of Hulk Hogan in him and much more. Yeah. This has been great, guys. We looked at the life a little bit, some stories about the late Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan. Craig, we'll be in touch, and I thank you. This was great having you. And as always, as I tell you, keep it in the ring, my friend.
You got it. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it. Nice talking to you guys.
Great stories from Craig. I'll be in touch soon, Craig. Thank you, my friend. He's been a long-time friend and colleague, and that was great going over the life and the career, the legacy of Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan. Robbie, thank you as always. You'll resume the Rebel Rant next week. But you did rant enough with Craig enough that you know, you were able to get a professional announcer, and I'm not, to do a promo with you. How about that?
I have one question for you before I do the rant next week.
Yeah, go ahead.
You gonna yawn in the middle of it again?
Oh wow.
Well, you know what? I have back pain, so I apologize.
You gonna yawn?
No, but I'm gonna. But I will tell you, for 2 weeks you stood me up on this program, and if you didn't come on this week, you were going to get fired. That was it.
Yeah, you're right.
There you go.
All right, Robbie. I love you. I always will. Thanks for your reflections on Hulk. Thanks for your reflections on Hulk Hogan again.
Thank you for having me as usual.
It's great, Robbie. Thank you. We'll talk soon. Keep it in the ring.
All
right. Robbie Rebel and Craig DeGeorge, Craig Marineri, who's a radio voice of the Miami Marlins, and Tommy D. We're keeping it in the ring. We'll come back after this brief timeout. And Tommy D and I, it's pro boxing time. Usually do that early, but now we're going to get to that full slate, recap, analyze, and much more. I'm Rich Mancuso. That's Tommy D. This is Keeping the Ring. Stay with us. Back in a moment.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
And Rich Mancuso, Tommy D, welcome back to Keep It in the Ring. We continue now. We'll go to pro boxing. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe here to my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso, and String Punk Entertainment, and Tommy D with TD Sports Talk. Well, Tom, let's get to the pro boxing. A lot of that in the last few days and more today. Let's start with Manny Pacquiao. He's back. I doubted it. He defied the odds, 46-year-old. After 4 years, he looked good, though he failed to make more boxing history as a 9-division champion because he got WBC welterweight champion Mario Barrios. They went to a draw, and instead, it is at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Pacquiao looked better than I thought on Amazon Prime, payperview.com as well. 12-round majority draw, 115, 113, 114, 114 twice. You know, I scored at 115, 113 for Pacquiao, and he was getting Barrios with the jabs, the straight rights. He took over Pacquiao, almost reminiscent a bit of the great Manny Pacquiao, Hall of Famer, 8-division champ. But, you know, Barrios started taking over towards the end and stole game. We got some rounds from the judge. But that late comeback failed in the final rounds, and that got the judge's attention, though Barrios sweeping the last 3 rounds. You know, Pacquiao landed 101 of 577 total punches. Barrios 120 of 658. And after a lackluster loss to Ugas 4 years ago, Pacquiao said he was done, but he got hungry, got back in there again. He looked like the Pacquiao of old at times. Tom, your analysis of this, and do you think a rematch is warranted with these two? Or does Manny Pacquiao, as they're talking about, Gervonta Davis, what's next for Manny Pacquiao? What do you think after this majority draw?
I would hope retirement is next for Manny Pacquiao, and he sticks with it because you know, yeah, he had moments in the fight and he looked good, but in my opinion, I thought Barrios held back, and Barrios was giving him too much respect. As a matter of fact, it took his corner to like the 11th round to say so and said, "Stop showing this guy respect. Stop shaking his hand. Stop, you know, hugging him. Stop, you know, go in there and fight." And I feel like Barrios may have pulled his punches a little bit in the fight. Yeah, Pacquiao looked okay. He looked good, but you know, how good is Pacquiao really at this age, or how bad is Barrios as a WBC champion?
That's the question. More so, how bad is Barrios?
Yeah,
and in a rematch, if they do it, who would win that one? But he defied. Look, Manny Pacquiao, 46 years of age, defied the odds. No one gave him a chance. Very few, including yours truly here. But again, as I said moments ago, Tom. He looked a lot like the Pacquiao of the old, of the back then. At some point, slow down a bit. Look, you're 46 years of age. You don't have the skills you used to have.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree with you. There were moments in the fight where he did look like the old Pacquiao, but at the end of the day, Rich, we have to be real with ourselves. We look at the man's face at the end of 12 rounds in that fight, and on top of that, I do really believe Barrios pulled his punches. If you had a Barrios that was not showing any respect and that was going in there to win the fight, because I mean, he went to win, but he didn't go to win the fight. And you know, I think this Manny Pacquiao wouldn't have made it 12 rounds. And you know what? If they do it again, I think you're gonna get the same thing. And if they put Pacquiao with another welterweight, I think he's gonna get creamed. I just think it's time for Pacquiao to go. It was a nice send off for him, you know. And you know what? I'm kind of happy with the draw. I didn't want to see Pacquiao have a title and then defend it against somebody, and you know, get a situation where he did with De La Hoya, the way he beat up De La Hoya in their fight, and De La Hoya retired after that. So I you know, I don't want to see it again. Hopefully not. You know, Pacquiao had a great career, Hall of Famer, and you know, hopefully this is the last we see of Pacquiao. You know,
well, time to be determined, but we know this: he prevailed, and Manny Pacquiao, for the moment, seems determined to do it again. Let's see. The co-main event on that card in Vegas, the rematch, Sebastian Vendora. He looked unbeatable, Thomas. against Tszyu in their rematch. And now he has to analyze Tszyu after the loss. What's next? But Tszyu vowed to continue after Fundora stopped him, retaining his WBC junior middleweight title. Tszyu lost for the third time in his last 4 fights. That's the question. And this time again to Fundora in the rematch. Now, the Turk guy got involved in this and deleted the tweet that said, Tszyu does not deserve to be in Riyadh season or Ring magazine cards. He later deleted that tweet. I don't know what made him say that, but you know what? I think Tszyu has something left in him, but not against Fundora. Tom, your analysis of Fundora, can anybody beat him?
You know, I got to look. I got to call it for what it is again. I think, I don't like to say that a fighter may be done or a fighter may be ruined, but I think the fight he took with Bakram, the Russian where he lost, in a fight that, he was favored to win, the way he got hit and beat in that fight, I think it ruined him. And if you go back to the first Fundora fight, his team did a total disjustice by not stopping the fight after that cut. And, think about all the things that happened to Tszyu from that point until now. His management, his team, it just did him injustice. You remember he was supposed to fight Thurman. That fell through. Fundora was coming off a loss.
And then he got the WBO title was taken from him because he didn't want this, that, boxing politics. Tszyu stayed on his stool to the end of the 7th round. And obviously the corner stopped it. And the straight left from Fundora dropped Tszyu. CompuBox stats show something here. Fundora, 520 of 596 punches connected, 72 of 204 for Tszyu. My question now, Tom, is what's next? Who does Fundora get next? Will it be what we're going to talk about in a little while? Maybe Xander Zayas at 154 or any of the others?
Well, first off, let me go back to Tszyu. Tszyu, I think he needs to take some time off, let his body heal, because he had some great moments in the fight. Matter of fact, the round that he quit, that round might have been his best round that he had. He was landing some good punches. He was, marking up Fundora well, but I don't know if he could take a punch anymore. So that made a problem with him. Now here, Fundora, I want to see unifications. I want to see the best fight the best. Fundora was supposed to fight Xander Zayas. Xander Zayas was the mandatory to that. Xander Zayas, we're going to talk
boxing politics we got involved. Boxing politics got involved.
So Zayas is going to have his moment hopefully this weekend. So maybe if Zayas handles his business, we'll speak about that soon. Fundora can go in and maybe look for a unification.
But to me, as I said moments ago, Tom, Sebastian Fundora is unstoppable, and it's hard to beat him because of that lanky length and style. That's evident. And Tszyu even made reference to that. He's a tough guy to beat. All right, let's look at Isaac Pitbull Cruz. 98-89 twice, 188 total dominance, wins the vacant WBC interim 140-pound title in a 10-rounder. Cruz dropped Omar Salcido in the 10th and final round, dominated all 10 rounds. Salcido replaced Angel Fierro. That was supposed to be a rematch, Cruz and Fierro, and whatever happened for medical reasons, they say. Cruz power punches, 33 of them in round 8. Tom, does Pitbull Cruz is he back in the mix at 140 and deserving of an impending title shot in that division?
Yeah, I think he's deserving. I mean, then look at how the alphabet soup organizations do it, especially the WBC. He's at 140 now. I think he's going to be competitive 140. I don't think he's as good as advertised, but he has a good story of how he came, to the United States and and his career and stuff. So I salute him for that. But he's another interim or regular champion. When the week before, you saw Matias just win the WBC title, and now you got Pitbull as a challenger, and then you have Dalton Smith, who's mandated to fight Matias. I just don't understand what the WBC is doing.
Alphabet soup organizations, and I'm going to tell you at the end of the show what came out yesterday about ridding the sanctioning organizations in boxing, and I'll go into that as a final note of the night. But Pitbull Cruz to me is back in the mix. Brandon Figueroa Unanimous decision over Joette Gonzalez in a title eliminator. Only 203 jabs combined in this fight. Figueroa was accurate all around, gets the win. And that's good for him because this young man still with title aspirations. And on the zone, we had a lot of boxing to end the month of July. And boy, was this month of July, and it's not over yet. We have Zayas this weekend because we're going to get a dull period in August. And it's driving boxing fanatics like me, you, and everyone else crazy because 2 cards, 3 at the same time. You start from early morning to late at night. It's much too much, but that's how they do it. That's why we need unity in the sport. On the zone, super middleweight, Diego Pacheco, this young rising superstar now, 24-0, 18 knockouts, 12-rounder, had a challenge in his last fight versus Steve Nelson. That was a big challenge, but defeated Trevor McCurby. A unanimous decision, 120, 108, 119, 109, both ways. He's that matchroom boxing star, Tom. Now he might be ready for something at 168, but it's not going to be Canelo Alvarez yet because first we know Canelo has got Crawford in September and maybe someone else after that. Maybe Berlanga's a good fight for Pacheco. They wanted to do that. Maybe they will.
Well, I know Pacheco wanted to do that. I don't know if Berlanga really wanted to do it, but maybe Berlanga may not have no choice now.
They have no choice now.
But Pacheco's, he looks good as a fighter. I mean, that was a decent test that he had this past weekend. I want to see him move up and fight, tougher competition. 168 is a lot of good fighters, but it looks like Shiraz is gonna get the winner or most likely Canelo.
That's it. So Pacheco is going to wait in line. So you talk Shiraz, and then you have Berlanga or Plant is maybe another opponent possibly for him. Whatever. Eddie Hearn in Matchroom Boxing say he's going to have a big fight coming up next. I don't know what it'd be a title, but he's in line. That's for sure.
I tell you what, there's 2 guys I would like to see him in the ring with. I mean, maybe 3. I mean, if Jamal Charlo is really willing to, to be consistent and fight, maybe Pacheco and Charlo. Or how about a guy that I like? I mean, he's working his way up. I like Kevin Newman. And then you have a guy from Brooklyn, Junior Union, guy from New York City. He's looking for his shot. He's got 1 draw.
Oh yeah, 168. Tom is really busy. One of the top divisions in the sport. And earlier on the zone, another big weekend, as I said, in boxing on Saturday, the unification heavyweight title, all the belts now again with Alexander Usyk, once again unifies those titles. Commanding win against IBF champ Daniel Dubois. Before it was 70,000 at Wembley in the UK. Again, Usyk beats Dubois off the controversial first fight. Usyk dropped Dubois twice, and the end that came at 152 of the 5th round. Usyk 2 wins over Dubois now. And Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, top heavyweights in boxing history. Maybe now Usyk, but it could be Joshua or even Tyson Fury again for Usyk. He said maybe that's what's next for him. He'd like Fury again coming out of retirement, so he says. Joshua or even Joseph Parker, where there's a bid maybe for that fight going up in the purse wars. Maybe Parker, Usyk next. But Tom, how do you rate Usyk now among the greats in heavyweight boxing now and in history, and maybe as a top pound-for-pound fighter right now?
I think pound for pound, usually heavyweights, it's hard to make them a pound for pound top guy. But in his case, he did come up from cruiserweight undisputed, so I would make an exception for him. He's definitely a pound for pound guy. As far as all-time heavyweights, I think he's in a good era where the heavyweight division is kind of weak right now. Not like back in the day. I would put him in the top 15 of the greatest heavyweights of all time. It's hard for me to put him in the top 10, but Usyk is definitely a guy.
He's in my top 10, and he's undisputed now again. So he's in my top 10, no doubt about it. As for that guy, Daniel Dubois, remains to be determined. Does he come back from this? I don't think there's any opportunity left for him after 2 losses to Usyk. And Tom, how about this? After the fight, Jake Paul's in the ring, and he wants a shot at Usyk. What do you think of this? The WBO has said 30 days purse bid, $1 million for the purse bid for Usyk to maybe fight Joseph Parker, but Jake Paul wants him next. This guy can't stay home. He's everywhere.
Hey, a part of me says, you know what? Go for it. What I don't like about it is skipping the line, but then I would like to see Jake Paul get beat up because I don't think he has a shot in hell. But hey, if he wants it, if he's willing to do it, but I just don't like the skipping the line. I think Parker's supposed to be next. There's also rumor that if he does fight Parker, that they're going to the IBF is going to strip him of the title, so it won't be for undisputed anymore.
Yeah, there we go again. Boxing politics reigns. $1 million purse bid. They have to do it within 30 days. He'll probably get stripped. It's coming down to that. And here we go again. The face of the heavyweight division, the title up for grabs again because they can't come to unity and unify these titles because of the sanctioning alphabet soup organizations that make it more confusing. And to me, it's horrible, but that's what they do. But how about Jesse Bam Bam Rodriguez? All right, Fresno, Texas on the zone. Matchroom Boxing and 25-year-old Southpaw, 22-0 now, 15 knockouts, and he's unified, 2-division champ. A one-sided 10th round KO over Cafu. He's a unified super featherweight champ. Body shots, and the corner stopped it. 2:07 of the round. The great footwork in the 10th round, taking over. And now they're talking a WBA unification bout with Fernando Martinez. Tom, Jesse Bam Bam Rodriguez, because he's in one of those lower weight classes, and because there were two other shows of significance on the same day, doesn't get the credit that's deserved. This is a great fighter and a great champion and an exciting one as well.
I like Bam Bam. I think he's definitely in the top pound for pound. I think he might be top 3 right now. He's very exciting to watch. But the little guys don't really get that much credit sometimes. Sometimes you need good dancing partners.
You're right.
And it's hard to gauge, how good, those guys are in those lower divisions. A lot of those guys are, Asian fighters from overseas in either Japan or in the Philippines. So, it's tough to gauge, especially if you're an American and you haven't seen these guys. But the eye test, he passes it for me, and he just looks like a pound for pound, top pound for pound fighter. And he's,
I'd like to know what fans think of him. Comment on the channel, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso and Tommy DTD Sportsbook, String Punk Entertainment. But I like the fact they're talking Bam Bam against Fernando Martinez. That would be a 12-round slugfest. They fight what you call inside the phone booth, toe to toe. And I love that. I love it.
Yeah, that would be great. I don't know about Martinez's punching power. He's not really. I don't think he's that much of a big puncher.
He's quick. He's quick.
They come up. Yeah,
he's
only got 9 KOs.
I know, but you know what? That's why it could be an interesting fight. And you bring up a good point, my friend. You really do. And 37-year-old Gary Russell, after a 3-year hiatus, dominates Hugo Castellana. Dropped him 4 times in the 10th round. There was a lightweight on that same card of Manny Pacquiao. Congratulations to him. All right, let's move on. Do more Keep It in the Ring boxing right now, Tom, as we rush through this. We're at 9 p.m. Eastern, top of the hour. A lot more to do here on Keep It in the Ring. All right. As I said, a lot of boxing on July, Saturday night. We will continue to end the month and this summer before we go to the low point in August. And we're talking now Madison Square Garden Theater Saturday night, and we're talking ESPN Top Rank Saturday night in the Garden. Final telecast, Top Rank in ESPN. This will be it, highlighted by that guy who's always in my background shot. There he is. Well, there you see him better. Puerto Rican Prince, undefeated. Xander Zayas, Puerto Rico. His first title shot. And it's not from Sebastian Fundora. It's because of boxing politics, but it's the Mexican puncher, Jorge Garcia, who's never been stopped for that vacant WBO junior middleweight title. The 22-year-old Zayas started this venture as a 16-year-old with Top Rank. They promoted him properly. What they do is milk him up the ladder. He's got his opportunity. Today at the Garden, Xander was there with a few others on this undercard, including Shushu Carrington. It's a good card. Final one for Top Rank and ESPN, their boxing venture. And even the Dominican Roman Polanco. Fight week this week, there we had Polanco and Zayas earlier this week at Citi Field. Now, Zayas is a big Mets fan in New York City and friends with Sugar Sugar Hill. What is his name? They call and Edwin Diaz. I should know his nickname. The relief specialist ace of the New York Mets. And I think we have a photo of that of Zayas and Polanco. There they are, showing proudly the Puerto Rican Dominican flags, both on this card at the Garden Saturday night. Tom, you were at the press conference today. I couldn't make it. You were there, and you got to talk to some of these guys and have some footage. Why don't you lead into it? What you got?
All right, well, let me just go into it real quick. So, like, we start off with the undercard. They were highlighting some of the fighters on the undercard. They hiding Juanita Lopez, and let me just bring it up. Juanita Lopez, Rohan Polanco, and my sleeper for the featherweight division in the future, Jan Santana. There was some good, good talks there. The highlight to me of this press conference was Jan Santana in this press conference. Jan. Well, let's see if I could. I'm going to pull it up for you right now. Let's see if I could get it. Let's just go right to it. Here's Jan Santana when they're speaking to him about him at the featherweight division.
The king, featherweight division. Yo, shoot. You're next, bro. You're next, man. You're next. I'm ready, bro. Yeah, she's next. Take it easy, bro.
That was pretty interesting. He called.
It was
out,
entertaining. Yeah.
Let me tell you something, Rich. One thing I spotted, because I look out for things like this. Sometimes things are set up. Sometimes some people push people to say things. That was really genuine. That is a guy that he recognized. I think it was all respect. He recognized Shushu as the future of the featherweight division, and he wants to go and fight him right away. I had a chance to go speak with him. I'm going to pull a little footage. I got a chance to speak to him. I'm going to post a video later of the full interview. Here's me with Jan Santana.
What's good, everybody? What's good? This is Tommy D from TD Sports Talk. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm here with the future young prospect, Jan Santana. What's going on? How you feeling today?
Me siento bien, gracias a Dios, tú sabes. Primero que nada quiero dar gracias a ustedes por la oportunidad. Estamos muy bien, muy motivados, de verdad. Primera vez que peleo aquí en el Madison, la arena grande donde todos quieren pelear, y en verdad estoy muy motivado.
First of all, he wants to thank God. Thank you guys for taking out the time to interview him. He's just very thankful. He's very motivated for this great opportunity to be fighting here in the Garden.
First time here.
So that's a little piece of it.
Great content, Com. You were busy down there at the Garden today for their final presser before the weigh-in tomorrow. Go ahead, my friend. Continue. Great work.
Yeah, so Jan Santana, shout out to my man Ricardo Figueroa. He is the manager of Jan Santana. He's right from our neighborhood. He's born and raised in the Bronx. Well, not born in the Bronx, but he was raised in the Bronx, and he grew up and lived in the Bronx for a long time. So shout out to my man Ricardo Figueroa, who was able to get me that interview. Also on this card, they were highlighting here's the undercard. They were highlighting Julius Bello is going to be in the card making his pro debut. He's a decorated amateur at the featherweight division, won the National Golden Gloves, if I'm not mistaken. He beat my guy Keith Colon, that I always talk about. That was who he beat in the finals. But Keith Colon, 6-0, 6 KOs, already started his career. Julius Bello makes his pro debut this Saturday. And then finally, I had a chance to meet with this other superstar. That's me with Emiliano Vargas. Emiliano Vargas was there with his father and his brother, Amado. They were there, and they were getting ready for their fight. His first time here in New York City. I got the chance to talk to him a little bit. Here's a little clip of Emiliano answering some questions.
I'm very grateful to God that a lot of people pay attention to my career. There's a lot of even world champions that people don't even know about. So I'm very grateful to God every single day for that. And we're nowhere near where we want to be. I want to continue to grow, and I know every fight I'm gonna grow as a person, grow as a fighter, and definitely grow as a superstar as well.
Hey, Emiliano, how you doing? You come from a fighting family. How important is it to have such a good support system like your brothers and your father?
My father gets all the credit, but it's my mother. She's the glue to everything. She's momager. She's, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. But obviously, the schooling of my father, and also, having my brothers there with the competitive nature, it just flows together. And it's a blessing that I'm able to be here with my family. And like I said, there's no better feeling than winning with people that you love.
Tom, great. That's great stuff, Tom. 8 fights on the card. Top Rank final telecast on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's sad to see that go. Highlighted again, Xander Zayas gets his first opportunity that he's been waiting for. He said 2025 would be the year. It's here, and he's got his chance Saturday night. We wish him the best. He's a good friend of the program. There he is with me every week. I got him up there every week. Great job, Tom, covering the presser today. Really appreciate that. I couldn't make it. Of course, I could rely on you to do a lot of things for me.
Yeah, I'll be weigh in tomorrow, and also don't forget.
Maybe if my back is feeling better, I'll be there. If not, I'll see you ringside for sure Saturday night. Top Rank, ESPN, MSG. Good luck to Xander Zayas and all the others. All right. Ring Magazine reports the Turk guy wants to craft Canelo Alvarez and Bud Crawford spectacular show, meaning crafting, as you see, stretching the undercard matchups, whatever that means, whatever they want to do. That means probably WBC interim super middleweight champ Christian Mabili versus Lester Martinez, and the heavyweights Jared Anderson versus Jarrell Miller. Tom, do you like that idea, whatever they mean about stretching it out?
I mean, what is it going to be like WrestleMania where they
maybe the 2-3 night event. The Turk guy does these unusual things, and here we go again.
The thing with the Turk, he's trying to do too much, and it's not. The last event in Louis Armstrong, I got to admit that was a good event, good card. The arena was nice, but he's not making any profits of it.
No,
he's putting in too much money, and they're not selling tickets, Rich.
No, they're not
tickets to this event. They're giving the tickets away, so. I'm not sure.
I don't either.
Good idea. I think
it's just crazy venues, crazy things, keeping the fighters busy. Good for the sport. The matchups, good for the sport. A lot of matchups, of course, we know are not great, but the money's there. Fighters, as I always say, going for that. So are the promoters. He lures them in. He's got the money. That's what it comes down to. And this week, former undisputed champ Josh Taylor said it's over. If you can believe that or not, fighters say they're retiring. They always come back. This is Britain's first undefeated champ, and he says it's a recurrent issue with his eye. It's a risk losing his eyesight. Thank Top Rank, that was his promoter, 34 years of age, defeated Regis Prograis in London, unifying the super lightweight division, and Undisputed beating Jose Ramirez in Vegas for the WBC and WBO titles at the time. Of course, Prograis coming back August 3rd. He's another guy said he's had enough. Leave it to the younger guys. He's coming back. But Josh Taylor had quite a career, whether this is the end or not, Tom.
Yeah, Josh Taylor, he had a good career. I believe at 140, he was there for a long time, and he was undisputed. And a lot of people didn't think he would be undisputed, but he was an undisputed champion. And then, he had some bad luck. With injuries, and he had that first fight with Catterall, what a lot of people thought Catterall won.
Yeah,
they finally had the rematch. He lost to Catterall, but he really looked good in that fight. He looked better than what I expected off of the injuries. So
yeah,
I mean, he's been in a lot of wars, a bunch of wars, and he's a tough fighter, and he was fun to watch, I have to admit. And at one point, he was the king of the 140 division. He
was an undisputed king. He was a good one as well. But it comes down to this. He says his eye, and it's not at the risk, and that's a good move. And if his eye is that bad, please, Josh Taylor, stay home. Be with your family. Take good care of yourself. Don't come back because the money's out there to come back. Because we've seen this more and more. Fighters are retiring, and they're coming back. And because the money is there, Manny Pacquiao, the example, of course, and even Tyson Fury again, who's going to come back, probably fight Usyk again. And a speedy recovery to the champion, the cruiserweight champ, Zudo Ramirez. Golden Boy made a statement about it, and so did Ramirez. Shoulder injury, had surgery. He's a proud champion. He's a comeback champion. We wish him all the best. The cruiserweight division, he is a champion, at least one of them. What comes after this, the surgery, the recovery, how long before he's in the ring again, to be determined. But we wish Zudo Ramirez all the best, Tom.
Yeah, we do. I mean, he's a good fighter. But I mean, the fight that we want to see him in, and now we're going to have to wait, is him and Jai Opataya.
Yeah.
So, the cruiserweight division is not really a division that
No,
people really go
it's
and watch.
something that you don't look at. You don't grab at it. It doesn't come at you.
I kind of look at the cruiserweight as kind of like the minor leagues, ready for the pros for the heavyweight division, because
it's in between.
Yeah, they move.
It was created years ago.
Yeah.
If remember, I had that as a fact a couple of weeks ago, to go in between the heavyweights, and then a chance to go heavyweight as well. Evander Holyfield's an example of it. He did that. He's a cruiserweight and heavyweight champion. One of few to do that. All right, Tom, great segment. We wrap up the boxing, but we're not wrapped up because you know what we got next. What am I going to do?
The fact of the week.
There you go. And it's just me and you this time, not trivia fact. You ready? Here you go.
All right, let's do it.
The heavyweight who said, "I am the astronaut of boxing."
I am the astronaut of
He
boxing.
said he was the astronaut of boxing. This is a fact, not trivia. A Rich Mancuso, pick it out, fact again, for Tommy D.
Oh, man. Joe Louis?
No, Muhammad Ali on his place. He said that because it was on his place in boxing history. He also said Joe Louis and Jack Dempsey were just jet pilots. That was Muhammad Ali at his best.
Wow, okay.
He said, "I'm the astronaut." He said, "Joe Louis and Jack Dempsey were just jet pilots." That's Muhammad Ali at his best, as we all know. All right, Tom, we're going to take another break. We're going to continue to go. We have some more pro wrestling talk on the night now that we mourn the passing of the great legend, the icon, Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea. So we'll take this brief time out, some UFC notes as well, and wrap it all up. Keep it in the ring. I'm Rich Mancuso, live on my YouTube channel. Like, comment, and subscribe. Tommy D, TD Sports Talk, String Punk Entertainment. My social media, X, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso, and like the Keep It in the Ring page. Boy, my back feels so much better because I'm on the air with Tommy D. Back in a moment. More Keep It in the Ring. Stay with us.
Petwell Clinic was built with busy pet parents like you in mind, providing walk-in preventative vet care, treatment for minor ailments, and chronic condition management. You remain with your pet throughout their visit, and all charges are clearly explained, so there are no surprises at checkout. Just walk in to our Paramus, Greenbrook, or Union locations, or visit us at petwellclinic.com for more information.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
All right, we continue. Keep It in the Ring this Thursday night, live. I'm Rich Mancuso. Tommy D will be back in a moment, my esteemed colleague and great co-host. And UFC notes. Former UFC light heavyweight champ Alex Pereira will attempt to reclaim the title versus Ankalaev. UFC 320 announced October 4th in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. Of course, he lost to Ankalaev the decision in March. So we'll look for that in the octagon. And UFC 318, May Holloway in the BFEM championship against Dustin Poirier, the final of their trilogy that started 13 years ago. Poirier has said this will be his last in the octagon. And I say fans, we do have some UFC fans, MMA fans here to follow the program, and I want to do more of that. I promise you we will, perhaps in August, because that's a dull time for boxing, and we'll try and get to that. All right, Tommy D, bring you back in. Let's continue the wrestling talk off the Hulk Hogan tributes and stuff. And we're getting ready now for WWE SummerSlam next weekend, 2 nights, MetLife, East Rutherford, New Jersey. You know, the card for 2 nights looks pretty good. I want to pull it up. Bear with me, because I have it, or I did have it. Here it is. I'll read it as we go along. But in the meantime, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso are forming a tag team. They got a SummerSlam against Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed with the absence of Seth Rollins. So the SummerSlam card looks pretty good. Street fight for the Undisputed World Championship, of course, John Cena and Cody Rhodes. Still a lot of talk. There'll be a double turn in that one. This is going to be 2 nights, probably 5 matches each night, Saturday and Sunday. That's how Triple H likes to do it. Gunther against CM Punk for the heavyweight title. the women's championship. Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cardo, Naomi Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky, women's world championship, women's world tag team championship, Judgment Day versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, Steel Cage, United States Championship. Again, you're going to have Solo Sikoa against Jacob Fatu. And you're going to have the Intercontinental title, Dominic Mysterio, AJ Styles. Finally, Mysterio is cleared to go. The no DQ for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship, Becky Lynch, Lyle Vaquera, Randy Orton, Jelly Roll. This is interesting, another celebrity, versus Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul, who to me is so talented in such a quick, short of time, a few years. He's going to steal this match. And Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, as I said, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. So, Gunther and Punk, put that up. I like that, though. It is a very good chance. It's a lot of talk that CM Punk will defeat Gunther and win the world title. What are your thoughts, Tom?
That I don't know. That'd be interesting. I mean, that I really don't know what's going to happen in that matchup. I think you're going to get a good match. I think you got two good workers. I think Gunther's phenomenal in the role that he plays. So yeah, that one is the one that I really am not sure. Like, I'm not confident in picking a winner either way. I think I'll be happy with either one that wins in that one. So it'd be nice if Gunther won clean, rather than maybe cheating or interference. That would put Gunther even over more.
For some reason, they're getting reports that WWE is not high as they were with Gunther, which behooves me. I don't know why. I don't know.
He's definitely one of the better talents that they have in the company. I don't understand.
And do you look forward to Cena and Cody and possibly the double turn?
I really don't know what to expect, honestly. I would say that Cody goes over. If Cody doesn't go over, I think it will be kind of, it'll be kind of dumb, because then Cena's going to hold it until his last match with the company. Like, are they really going to have him retire with the belt? So I would think that Cody goes over in this match, and maybe you get the double turn, and maybe that would build up the feud a little bit more. But honestly, I really don't know. I'm intrigued to see what happens in this fight.
And not like in the old day. Yeah, it's a street fight. Not like in the old day when SummerSlam, WrestleMania stuff was only one night, which I liked. We're getting 2 nights of this stuff again. Much too much. I don't know why they just can't do it in one night. But this is TKO Endeavor, Triple H. This is what they like. This is what they want to do. So 5 matches each night. We'll take it. It's wrestling 2 nights. The fans love that. By the way, AEW in the back burner for a moment. And again, next Wednesday on Dynamite, we'll get the same thing. Adam Page against Jon Moxley again for the title. That they do recurring things. That's why I can't catch on to them as much as I used to.
Yeah, I don't watch it, so I don't. AEW, I just can't do it.
And the height of MLB baseball season, Dynamite, still their ratings, no more than 500,000 on TBS, and Collision on Saturday night. But Tony Khan says they're thriving. They're doing well on Max and TBS. I don't know. All right, Tom, that's the wrestling segment in memory, of course, to the late Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan. And we will once again thank Craig DeGeorge, Marineri, and Robbie Rebel for joining us on the panel earlier tonight. Never to be forgotten was that man, the legend, Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan. Which brings us now. One other note. I got to show this wrestling moment at Citi Field the other night. Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton battling who's going to throw out the first pitch on WWE night at Citi Field. They got into it on the mound.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. And, I couldn't talk to her. WWE executives wouldn't allow interviews. I don't know why. They were promoting SummerSlam on WWE night. That's my favorite female wrestler, Nia Jax.
Nia Jax?
And I couldn't talk to her.
Oh, man.
And then Tiffany tackled. The Mets have this stupid thing in the outfield in the early innings. They have the Bronx Zoo giraffe, and they have they have all these different characters and animals, costumes. They have a race. And Tiffany Stratton went out there and tripped and made the giraffe loss. So they were highlighted. They were highlighted there the same night that Xander Zayas and Polanco were there as well. Well, anyway, nostalgia time now. Let's get to it, Tom. July 30th, 2016. Not too long ago, Carl Frampton defeated Leo Santa Cruz, 12-round majority decision, winning the WBA Featherweight Championship. Barclays Center in Brooklyn, I covered that fight. Frampton vacated his two 122-pound world titles. He moved up in weight. Del Santa Cruz's first career loss, became the first two-division world champ from Northern Ireland, was Frampton. The rematch a year later, Santa Cruz beat Frampton, majority decision, reclaiming that title in Las Vegas. Tom, do you remember that fight?
I do, and it was a close fight. I thought Santa Cruz won that fight, and they gave it to Frampton, but it was very close. And then I believe they fought a second time. I think
they did in Vegas.
Yeah,
Frampton majority decision reclaimed the title in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
About a year later. So yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. Not too long ago. And then we got July 28th, 1952. My hero, the great Hall of Famer, The Rock, undefeated Rocky Marciano, heavyweight, knocked out Harry Matthews, round 2 of 10 for the heavyweight title. It was an eliminator at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. The Rock dropped Matthews, who hadn't lost since August of 1943, did it with 3 left hooks to the jaw. And that win, the eliminator, got Rocky Marciano that shot at Jersey Joe Walcott and won the title when he beat Walcott. So that was a title eliminator. The great Yankee Stadium was an icon for that was a historic venue at one time for boxing. Joe Louis, Walcott, Marciano, Frazier, they all fought there. They don't do it no more. The Yankees don't want that, so they don't do it. But that was 1952, July 28th. It lives on. We like going back in history with nostalgia. So we close that for the week, and we end up on this final note. I want to talk about this. This came out just yesterday. And I want your thoughts, Tommy D, real quick. A bipartisan bill in Congress updating federal regulations to boxing, introduced in the U.S. Congress yesterday, stems from the Muhammad Ali Act, the American Boxing Revival Act of 1996, to create, here's the key, unified boxing organizations instead of these alphabet soup sanctioning bodies. It would enhance also health insurance for fighters and anti-doping programs as well, similar to a model that UFC is using and Dana White. Boxing is the only pro sport regulated by Congress, by the way. It goes to the House and Senate up for vote. We'll see the Senate has to approve it. Then I guess it'll get signed in the White House by President Donald Trump, who acts on these things quickly. The Turk guy and Dana White have all called for this, and this is good. Yeah. Especially, Tom, what I like is more so the safety of the fighter. Also, instead of sanctioning bodies, the alphabet soup, we're going to get unity if this goes through, and health insurance for the fighters that they don't have, because the sanctioning organizations won't go with it. What do you think?
I like that. I don't know if they could actually get rid of the sanctioned bodies. That'll be interesting to see. I wonder what Mauricio and the WBC would have to say about that. But the insurance and the health insurance and the anti-doping, I'm all for that. I think that's great. You see a lot of fighters now that didn't get big paydays like some of these fighters are getting now, and they have to work a 9-to-5 job now because they have no insurance, and they do it to collect more money and to get the benefits of the job that they're working at. So I'm all for it. I think they deserve it. These guys take a lot of punches to the head, and it's not just in the ring. It's not just in the ring and fights. These guys are sparring and training, 6 to 8 weeks before
a lot of pounding to the head.
Exactly.
And CTE, which is a major issue not only for fighters but for pro wrestlers, there is no clarity to that issue. And I've been hanging around an independent pro wrestler the last few weeks who knows he has CTE, but he can't get it diagnosed. There's no diagnosis. You can't diagnose it because they refuse to do it. It's a study of the brain. They only do it when the person is deceased, which is totally ludicrous, and it's brain damage is no funny thing.
Yeah.
We know that, and it's something that I like this Muhammad Ali Act, and I like the fact that Congress is getting involved. That boxing needs more regulation and unity, and hopefully this gets passed through Congress. It's going to be a hurdle, but I don't know if it'll happen, but I hope it does. It's a long time coming. All right, Tommy D, what an hour or more tonight. Thank you again to Robbie Rebel. He'll be back in next week, I hope, with the Rebel Rant. And also to an old friend and colleague, Craig DeGeorge, Craig Marineri, voice of the Miami Marlins, who worked with the great legend, Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, who passed away earlier today. And rest in peace, Hulkster, and to all his friends and family who all knew him and worked with him, our condolences here. Keep it in the ring for me and Tommy D and all of you out there. Thank you all for watching tonight, staying with us. We had a lot of content. We think we got it all through. Back with you again next week, as always, 8 p.m. live Eastern. He would keep it in the ring. Like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. Get me on social media, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso, X, Ring786, Instagram. Read my content on LatinoSports.com. Tommy, where do they reach you, Tommy D?
Well, you guys can reach me here on YouTube and TD Sports Talk, and on my social media platforms, Tom Dillamuth at Instagram and Facebook, and also every Sunday I'm live with my man Pedro Fernandez at Ring Talk Worldwide.
I love that. I've seen this segment. It's great stuff. You're great, Tom. You help me put this together every week. You're impeccable, as I say, and irreplaceable. You are the future of this business when I finally shut the door. You always have the keys.
I definitely appreciate that, and I'll definitely keep keeping in the ring going as long as I can afterwards. So
thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
So till next week, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Get me on social media. Keep in touch. Stay well. Be good to each other. God bless. And as Tom and D and I always say at the end of the week,
keep it in the ring.
Keep it in the ring, everyone. Talk to you next week. Thank you for watching. Till next time.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.